Introduction to project management. What is a project? Times a project is an activity that is temporary, having a start and end date, is unique, brings about change, has unknown elements, which therefore create risk. Times generally projects are formed to solve a problem or take advantage of an opportunity. Times generally it is the uniqueness of the activity that is the deciding factor. Do we do this every year? If so, then it is not truly a project, although you can use project methods to get it done. Characteristics of projects. Times a project contains a well-defined objective. The project objective is defined in terms of scope or requirements, schedule, and cost. Times a project is carried out via a set of interdependent tasks. Times a project uses various resources to carry out these tasks. Times a project has a definite start date and an expected completion date. The actual completion date may not always be the same as the expected date. Times a project is a one-time or unique endeavor. What is project management? Times the art of organizing, leading, reporting, and completing a project through people. Times a project is a planned undertaking. Times a project manager is a person who causes things to happen. Therefore, project management is causing a planned undertaking to happen. Common project terms. Times deliverables, tangible things that the project produces. Times milestones, dates by which major activities are performed. Times tasks, also called actions, activities undertaken during the project. Times risks, potential problems that may arise. Times issues, risks that have happened. Times Gantt chart, a specific type of chart showing time and tasks, usually created by a project management program like MS Project. Times stakeholder, any person or group of people who may be affected by your project. Key points in project setup and definition. Times create project management plan, PMP. Times be clear of scope and objectives. Times establish clear statement of what is to be done, WBS. Times establish risks to be managed. Times establish costs and durations. Times establish resources required. Project planning. Times adequate planning leads to the correct completion of work. Planning. Times inadequate planning leads to frustration towards the end of the project and poor project performance. Project start, project end. Work breakdown structure, WBS. Times the work breakdown structure is the foundation for effective project planning, costing and management. Times it is the most important aspect in setting up a project. It is the foundation on which everything else builds. Work breakdown structure, definition. A work breakdown structure, WBS, is a hierarchical, from general to specific, tree structure of deliverables and tasks that need to be performed to complete a project. Project risk. Project risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on a project objective. A combination of the probability of a defined threat or opportunity, likelihood, and the magnitude of the consequences of the occurrence, impact, defines a risk index. Risk impact. Threat scope: poor quality product, threat schedule, late delivery, threat cost, overspend. Times. In addition, there are health, safety and environmental threats that must be managed. The risk management process. Times. Risk identification: identify project, product and business risks. Times. Risk analysis: assess the likelihood and consequences of these risks. Times. Risk planning: draw plans to avoid or minimize the effects of the risk. Times. Risk monitoring: monitor the risks throughout the project. Project monitoring. Times. Typical monitoring activities: regular reviews of progress against schedule using WBS as basis, plan against baseline, regular review of actual costs against budgeted costs and earned value at WBS level, regular review of resource loading, regular progress meetings with project team, regular meetings with contractors, production of periodic progress reports, risk reviews, inspections, audits. Project control. Times. Typical control activities: assign responsibilities at work package level, staged authorization of work to be done, staged release of budgets, staged release of WBS, numbers, ensure PM has a management reserve under his control, seek corrective action reports when WPs go off track, overrunning or overspending, release management reserve carefully. Project organization. Organization. Times. Definition: organization: a set of organizational units and their different relationships with each other. Times. Organizational units can be organized according to many different categories, for example by function or by project type. Typical examples of organizational units: functional organization, research, development, marketing, sales, project organization, project 1, project 2. Times. A organization usually has 3 different types of relationships between organizational units. Reporting structure: to report status information, decision structure, to propagating decisions, communication structure, to exchange of information. Types of organizations. Times. Types of organization: functional organization, project-based organization, matrix organization. Times. Parameters for each organization type: organizational unit, key players, roles and responsibilities, structure, information flow between roles, benefits and challenges, pros and cons. Times. Heuristics. Project organization. Times. In a project organization, participants are grouped into projects, each of which has a problem to be solved within time and budget. Times. Key properties: teams are assembled for a project as it is created. Each project has a project leader. All participants are involved in the complete project. Teams are disassembled when the project terminates. Properties of project organizations. Times. Advantages: very responsive to new project requests, because the project is newly established and can be tailored around the problem. New people can be hired, selected who are very familiar with the problem or who have special capabilities. There is no waste of staff workload. Times. Disadvantages: teams cannot be assembled rapidly. Often it is difficult to manage the staffing hiring process. Because there are no predefined lines, roles and responsibilities need to be defined at the beginning of the project. Key roles in organizations. Times. Project manager, the person ultimately responsible for the successful completion of the project. Times. Project team member, participants who are responsible for performing individual activities and tasks in a project or matrix organization. The project manager. Times a person with a diverse set of skills, management, leadership, technical, conflict management, and customer relationship, who is responsible for times initiating, times planning, times executing, times controlling, times monitoring, times and closing down a project. Times a successful project manager must simultaneously manage the four basic elements of a project: resources, time, money, and most importantly, scope. All these elements are interrelated. Each must be managed effectively. All must be managed together if the project is to be a success. The resource that can be leveraged to the greatest extent in all projects is the people involved. Times project managers are essentially jugglers. They must make sure that everything keeps to task, that potential issues are quickly eliminated and the project is delivered on time, all the while making sure everyone knows what is happening and the project quality and budget are acceptable. The project managers. Times direct all activities required to successfully meet the project objectives. Times manage risk, scanning ahead for potential issues and resolving them before they become a problem. Times solve problems, recommending alternative approaches to problems that arise and providing guidance to the project sponsor. Times track and report project progress. Times communicate to all stakeholders in the project. A good project manager takes ownership of the whole project, is proactive not reactive, adequately plans the project, is authoritative not authoritarian, is decisive, is a good communicator, manages by data and facts not uniformed optimism, leads by example, has sound judgment, is a motivator, is diplomatic, can delegate. Why do projects fail? Times poor project and program management discipline. Times lack of executive level support. Times wrong team members. Times poor communication. Times no measures for evaluating the success of the project. Times no risk management. Times inability to manage change. Times a project has a degree of uncertainty. In project planning, many assumptions are made regarding access to resources, resource capability, impact of environmental factors. Times these assumptions are not always accurate. Times requires project managers to reassess and trade-offs between requirements, costs, and time. Above all, be proactive. Measuring project success. Times we measure the success of a project using four major project constraints, specifically times scope, times cost, times schedule time, times customer satisfaction, quality and performance.